Hi, I trust you're enjoying the unfolding of this aspect of why the light is so important today. Um, if you got up in the middle of the night with all these floods that have been going on in New Zealand, you know one of the greatest things that was a challenge to people in homes, had to leave their homes, had to walk away from because the floods and everything that came into took over their house, really. They had to leave in it. You know that there's so many people who didn't have a light, a torch. And so they floundered in the dark, didn't know what to do, didn't know where they're walking, didn't know where to walk to. All of these things just brought them to a point of just being disillusioned. So what do I do? Where do I go? How can I do? And everything's being destroyed all around them. Well, if they had a light, they would be able to see the way to go. The scripture talks about that, doesn't it? In Psalm 119, I think it's verse 105. And he says, the word is a light unto my path. He said, the word is a lamp unto my feet. See, the word's the light. Where's the light? The light's got to shine in the darkness to dispel the darkness. So what's that? That's the word. So coming back on, we're going to continue on for a bit with Ezekiel chapter 28. We've started there to unfold a little bit about what is this, who's the author of this darkness, probably the word. Who's the origin? Who's behind all of this? Well, it's actually Satan, who sat there in the places of heaven and determined he was going to take the place of God. It's for that reason he was cast out. So let's learn a little bit more about from him. And we'll go to this is Ezekiel 28 and verse 11. It says, moreover, in addition to what I've already said, the Lord came unto me saying this, Son of man, take up a lamentation. Lamentation is where you go travail, really, I suppose. You're regretful, whatever that is in your life. But he says, take up a lamentation for the king of Tyre. Well, didn't we talk about a king of Tyre? We talked about a prince of Tyre. Now he's talking about a king of Tyre, and say to him, thus saith the Lord, you were, who's he talking about? He's talking about the king of Tyre. We saw the prince of Tyre, now the king. You were the seal of perfection. That's what you were created. You were full of wisdom, and you were perfect in your beauty. You were in the Eden. You were in the garden. Remember when I said we kind of, the world jokes about all this thing about the apple, about Eve and all this sort of stuff. But this is where he was. He was a deceiver. He deceived Eve and then Adam. They become deceived. What, by the devil? Because that's what he is. He, on behalf of himself, questions what God says, that you might doubt God and follow after him. That's his purpose. It was at that point, when we get to this or that, but I'll make a statement. That was the beginning of the kingdoms of the world becoming controlled by another force than Adam and Eve, who were created to rule the earth and to manage it on behalf of God. That was their purpose. But they were deceived in the process of all of that, and they gave themselves over here and followed. They became deceived. And we live in that same deception. That's what he's talking about here. You were in the garden of Eden. Every precious stone was your covering. The sardius, the topaz, these are names of stones, the diamond, the beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, gold. And the workman of your timbrels is music, and your pipes was prepared for you on the day that you were created. This guy is interested in music, and he uses music to get the emotion of people, and then he uses the lyrics to get the minds of the people. You caught up on that? It's worth having a look at. What's the music you're listening to? What are the lyrics? Have a look at some of those lyrics, because they go into our mind and they help to form our thinking. So that's what the devil uses to bring deception across the world. Go on further. Workmanship of your pipes and so on. You were the anointed cherub who covers. I, God, established you. You're on the holy mountain of God. You walk back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. You were perfect in all of your ways from the day that you were created until, here's the key, until iniquity was found in you. And the abundance of your trading, we talked about that in our last session. You became filled with violence. So where's the violence in the world coming from? Here it is, Satan. Well, he's the prince, he's the king. He's the one that's risen up. The world Kingdoms are his place of influence. Within you, and he says, and you sinned. Therefore, I cast you out as a profane thing. That's the devil. I cast you out of the mountain. I destroyed you, O covering cherubim, from the midst of the fiery stones. Your heart was lifted up. Your heart was because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. And I cast you out to the ground. I laid you before kings that they might gaze upon you. You defiled the sanctuaries, by the multitude of your iniquities. Maybe just if you've not thought about that, I think we might have covered on this on a previous aspect of it. But what God has, as in a sanctuary, as in a spirit, as in a prophet, as in ministries, Satan also has. See, he has the false prophet. He has prophets, but they're false prophets. But he still has prophets. See? He's like an angel of light. He has a real power, and people are being deceived by that power today. And being led away into different pathways. We need to understand who he is and what he is. He's cast to the ground. And he says, and you gaze upon you, you defiled your sanctuaries. He's got his church. There's a satanic church. Did you know that? There's Satan prophets. Did you know that? They come against us, try and influence us, destroy us, overcome us. Why? Because he wants to be your king. And then he goes on, he wants to be your God. He has defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your iniquities, by the iniquity of your trading. Therefore I brought fire in the midst to devour you, and I turned you to the ashes upon the earth in the sight of all that saw you. All who knew you among the peoples are astonished at you, and you became a horror, and shall be no more forever. This guy has been judged. But in his judgment, he's come and he's formed his kingdoms on the world. He did that with Jesus. You remember in Luke chapter 4, he was out in the wilderness and Jesus is out here. And what does Satan say? We did cover on this, but just to remind us today, in case you're coming online, what he did was to stand before Jesus and say, if you, Jesus, will bow down to me, I will give you the glory of all of the kingdoms of the earth. Because that has been given to me, to give to whom I would. So today, can we just learn from these things in our own life and see and know that with God, who God is, who he is as the light of the world, as his word as being the light to our path? Have a look at Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 12. And this kind of captures this. It's not a repeat, but it helps us reinforcement, really. Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, you son of the morning? How is it that you've been cut down to the ground, which you did, and you weakened the nations? Who weakened the nations? This Satan. Here it is. He's talking Satan, Lucifer. Weaken the nations. You've said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud, and I will be like the Most High God. And you shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see you shall narrowly look upon you, and shall consider you, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, and that did shake the kingdoms, that made the world a wilderness, destroyed the cities, therefore that opened not the house of the prisoners? This guy is an absolute evil. He's evil, he's deceiving, he's trying to deceive you, trying to deceive me. The answer is shine the light, because darkness is dispelled as soon as light is introduced. The light, he is the light of the world, you are light of the world. We walk with him, we walk in the light. We walk in the light, we walk in fellowship one with another. I trust that's helpful for you. Don't get involved with the things of darkness. Start to separate. These are days in which we're living today. Separate yourself from those things that maybe have controlled your will, that have ruined your will. We've just read that from Isaiah 14. Go over it. Why don't you share? Why don't you discuss it? Why don't you share it? And click on subscribe and we'll take you further on this journey together. Discuss it. Circulate it. Let others hear the truth of the gospel. And God bless you.